abuse and social isolation and other types of things to harm that child and keep them away from the other parent, but it does a lot of significant damage to that child and to their relationships with others.
This is evidence-based science. You don't just get to make it up. I think it's important, as an aside, to distinguish between science and a belief system, or science and ideology, or science and speculation.
I'm a scientist and I don't work with possibilities, like what's probable. Because when you're making decisions about children, you need to go with what the evidence says. And the evidence says abused children don't often act that way.
Why do we care if a rejecting child is alienated or estranged, right? Maybe it doesn't matter, but it does. And the reason it matters is because the treatment would be very different.
There's a concept in statistics and probability that turns out to be extremely relevant to these clinical cases. And that concept is the concept of a base rate, which I'll define in a minute, and ignoring the base rate, which is called base rate neglect.
And if you're looking for alienation and even other kinds of domestic violence, you have to look at patterns over time. Because abusive parents they use coercive control, they use ways to dominate the other person, and that you have to look deep and you have to look at it over an extended period of time.
If the professional doesn't have specialty level pattern recognition, or better yet, subspecialty level pattern recognition, you're liable to make a lot of mistakes and miss the important patterns.
Well, actions speak louder than words. I say immediately, you have to be able to reason backwards. When the alienating parent shows genuine support for the relationship between the other parent and child, you know it in how the child behaves. They will accept the other parent like this, like a light switch.
If you're using intuition, even when you shouldn't, then you tend to have great confidence in your incorrect conclusions. That's almost true by definition. It feels right. So no matter how wrong you are, if it was intuitive thinking, it feels right, and I'll repeat the catchy phrase, consequently, they tend to have great confidence in their incorrect conclusions, and that's a huge problem.
There's a kind of a perception that both parents must be contributing to the problem for this child to be rejecting them. You know, one parent must be doing something bad, and then the other parents, and they're both acting badly towards each other. And in my experience interviewing and talking to targeted parents and researching them, that a lot of them are really helpless. They have almost no power or control over what's happening in their lives, in their children's lives. The alienating parent really controls everything. They control access and communication to their child. Anything that parent will say to the child is interpreted by that child as negative.